qualify and 20 laps to end out the day. So it is going to be an exciting day of action here from the virtual Brands Hatch, and we're excited that all of you are along for the ride with us tonight. The Team Brazil Scholarship aims to create opportunities for talented Brazilian drivers, and today the winner of the feature race will be a finalist for the Team Brazil Scholarship and have a chance to compete in the Formula Ford Festival in the United Kingdom in October. And all day today, this is set to emulate what it'll be like in that Formula Ford Festival, as Gustavo Ariel sets the fastest time, 52.310, as drivers continue to take to the track. Currently taking a look at the number 12 machine as they'll work their way through. That's Gustavo Ariel. Gets a little bit too wide out there into the grass. Andy, they need to make sure they keep it within those track limits, or else they're going to be having the time to get disqualified as a hard lockup on the brakes for Ariel.
Yeah, these Skip Barber racing cars, I know from experience, it's very easy to lock the brakes. They've got no ABS, they've got no traction control. They do have some aerodynamics, but they don't have a huge amount of grip from that front and rear wing. So it really does challenge the drivers, and we can see Gustavo there really wrestling with the car as he tries to make it through some of the higher speed corners. But, oh, and there's another moment here. This is João de Gregorio having a spin in the number 88 car. That was going up into the final turn at Clearways Corner. But yeah, track limits, definitely a bit of a talking point, although Brands Hatch actually on iRacing is one of the more lenient circuits. You can get away with running quite wide onto that. It's actually sort of an astroturf of fake grass on the exit of this left-hand corner at Graham Hill Bend. So we'll probably see here Tana Carmo run very wide. Well, that was a bit too wide. That was out onto the real grass, and there's not much grip out there.
That's Carmo in the one, making his way through, about 7/10 back from your current leader up at the front, Solio Almeida. Here comes Gustavo Ariel across the line. Will they be able to improve their time and get up to the top? It looks like they will be able to do it. 52.071, but not for long, as Almeida goes right back to the top of the charts. 52.001. And we go on board with Diego Pereira, now trying to improve his time. 52.453 last time by. What can he do this time by? As he makes his way through the shortcut, through McLaren, into Clark Curve, and back onto the Brabham straight to complete the lap. Downhill, right back to uphill on the loud pedal. Let's see if he'll be able to improve on his time. 5.5 minutes remain in qualifying. Mika hops up to P6, 52.969. Unfortunately, not going to improve for the 212 machine in fourth.
It's very, very tight though, isn't it? And that's what you'd expect around a short circuit like this. Identical cars, of course, for all of the drivers, so there's not much of a chance for them to make the difference. And look at the way that you have to slide them, especially through these low-speed corners. That was the right-hand hairpin at Druids. Now they're to head into this tricky left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. But with these Skip Barber Formula cars, you've really got to keep the momentum up. They don't have a lot of power, so it's all about being comfortable with a car that moves around. And ultimately, for all of these drivers, they're aiming to have that opportunity to come and race in the Formula Ford Festival, and Formula Ford cars have even less aerodynamics than these Skip Barbers, so the drivers need to be comfortable with a car that's moving around quite a lot underneath them.
See if Pereira will be able to improve on his time. He does, although slightly, 52.447 the time. He'll stay in fourth place. A slight improvement, but not unfortunately on the leaderboard. Up into fifth goes Pidanari in fifth place, as we take a look at Washington Lewis working his way through McLaren, through Clark Curve, back to the front straightaway in the number 25, 52.612 his time last time by. We'll see if he can improve here. Qualifying wrapping up here in just about 4 minutes as Lewis comes across the line. 53.064. It'll still be Almeida up at the top of the charts, 52.001. But still a handful of drivers left to punch in some more times, Andy. We could see a 51-second lap time.
Yeah, well, we're very close to it, aren't we? With Almeida just 1/1000th of a second outside of that 51-second bracket, but they're limited on the laps that they can do here. Just 3 flying laps allowed, and they can set those 3 laps within a 10-minute window. So that timer in the top left-hand corner of your screen, that's the 10 minutes ticking down. And I think some drivers have just left it a bit later, just so that they know what the benchmark times are. You can get your 3 laps in pretty quickly around such a short layout. And I think some of the drivers maybe do prefer to know the time that they're aiming for, don't they? Di Gregorio here is coming out of clearways, and Clark Curve across the start-finish line. He is 10th place at the moment, just over a second away from provisional pole. Let's see whether he improves this time. Comes across the start-finish line, and it is going to be no improvement that time. He's a couple of tenths off his previous best.
Will stay in 10th place. Colborn now in the 76. We'll take a focus on in 13th. Across the line, trying to beat his best of a 53.199. He does 53.167. Unfortunately, not going to help him on the leaderboard. He'll stay down in 13th. On board with Enrique Pedinari now. Looks like he had some issues. He's up into the 1 minutes of this lap time. That is not going to be very helpful, and he'll pull it down into the pit lane. Looks like he is done with qualifying here today. Another look at Di Gregorio now, working back to the front straight away. Will the 88 machine be able to improve on the 53.044? He laid down about 1 second back from the fastest time of the day. Can he improve? It doesn't look like it. It looked like a good lap time, Andy, but if he does not get all of those tires within the track limits, if he gets an off track or 1x anything, that is going to immediately disqualify the lap time.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened there, because you're right, he improved, I think, on his last 2 laps, didn't he? But the time didn't stand, so that's frustrating, but, you know, that is a rule that we see in real-world racing, and it's nice to see it replicated here in iRacing as well. Now, outside of the top 15 here, we've got in 17th place, Thiago Ezequiel coming across the line in number 17 car, looking to try and jump a bit further up the starting order. And it doesn't look as though he's going to make it into that top 10. No, stays in 17th, but that's not necessarily the end of the world. You have a chance to improve your position through your heat, and then as long as you're in the top 14 within your semi-final later on, you will make it through to that grand final, and that is what all of these drivers are shooting for.
As we wrap up qualifying, about 1 minute left, we'll send it over to Andy McKellen, who is standing by with Adriano Pinheiro here in the broadcast booth.
Yeah, Adriano, great to have you here. Now, Adriano is one of the judges for the Team Brazil scholarship. So, Adriano, you're a perfect person to tell us a bit more about this scholarship, how it came about, and what the eventual targets are for the scholarship.
Well, we would like to find a Brazilian driver that has talent, of course, and can be helped by Swift Formula Ford to have a participation on the festival that happens every year, which is pretty much the World Cup of Formula Ford. In England, it's so popular, and they used to say here that if you can drive a Formula Ford, you can drive anything. And the Team Brazil Scholarship would like to find a Brazilian driver to have an opportunity on that festival, which is a really, really important weekend, and we hope to find the best one. I just had a few laps on the practice on the Skip Barber with the guys, and I can see some guys drive really well and they do really good lap time. I could only achieve the 5th best time on my practice, so let's see how it's gonna go.
Well, we've had 3 Brazilian winners of the Formula Ford Festival over the years, haven't we, Adriano? Do you think we've got another one this year, perhaps?
We need to be realistic. I think a Brazilian driver coming over and participating there, we as judge, we will have to look after, to look carefully on their CV and what they have done. So we have an opportunity to choose wisely someone with a great experience and talents, but we have to be realistic. The guys who normally race in that competition are very good, very experienced, and they've done lots and lots of laps around Brands Hatch, which is a very technical and difficult track. Although you look at the track and you think it's a small track, but Brands Hatch is amazing. In fact, I'm there tomorrow teaching someone in Gineta. So I love the track, and I hope that we choose wisely to the point we get this Brazilian lucky person to do really well here.
Well, I'm sure you will, Adriano. We'll hear from you again at some point, I'm sure, but we're almost ready to get our first heat underway. So, Josh, over to you.
Thank you to Adriano. Thank you to Andy, who will be standing by with me here all day long in the broadcast booth. It'll be Almeida starting on the pole. Mikado in second place. Ezekiel, Luis, and Mika will round out your top 5. 15 drivers will take the green flag here in heat number 1. We'll only have 2 heats here tonight. Heat 3 and heat 4 have been skipped due to participation. So we'll have 2 heats, 14 drivers moving on from each of these heats. Sorry, 14 drivers competing in each of these heats, and then we'll end in the semifinals, where we'll see the eliminations down to the top 28 on the day, and they'll all go racing in tonight's feature race. Getting ready now to go racing from Brands Hatch. It's heat number 1, presented by AIM Technologies for the Team Brazil iRacing Festival, and we are green. Great start out in front for Almeida. He'll grab the early lead. Machado in second place. Side by side for third, Ezekiel and Luis. Luis on the outside, trying to take that spot, but taking third place, it'll be Ezekiel, Almeida, Machado, Ezekiel up in front. They are 3 cars up in front, single file as they work their way through Druids for the first time. A good dive up the inside on Salvino for the 111 of Leonardo Rufino as they work their way down the hill once again into the corner. 1 car around in the front, and a multiple car pile up now.
Oh, that was so unfortunate. I think cold tyres had something to do with that. You can see Conrado Frasson going round as well, but there was contact up ahead, and once you get these cars sideways on cold tyres, it's almost impossible to save it, and then on such a narrow section of the circuit, nowhere for the others to go. So it looks as though, unfortunately, the 88 of Xiaudi Gregorio was involved in that. He is already headed for the pit lane for repairs, and that now gives us this 3-car breakaway at the front, doesn't it? Almeida in the lead, Machado second, and Ezekiel third, and I think these 3 will now battle for the victory over the next 6.5 laps.
Machado, you can see right on that back wing, trying to work his way further up into the standings and work his way into the lead. You can see a lot of drivers taking it very wide, coming out of Graham Hill Bend and onto the Cooper Straight to try and gain as much time as they can on the car in front, but still out in front, it's Almeida ahead of Machado, Ezekiel, Luis, and Lima now at the end of your top 5. Handful of drivers shuffling further back as we grab a look at a replay. Bruno Mika involved in this one. Looked like contact with the car behind. That led into 2-3 cars involved. Multiple cars trying to swerve to miss it. And you can see Conrado Frosden also at the back of the field getting loose coming out of the corner and ended up losing the car. 52.403, fastest lap of the race from Washington. Luis in the number 25 as we'll go on board with Mateus Machado trying to catch up to Solio Almeida up in front in the lead. About 3/10 separate these two as they work their way back to the Cooper Straight.
Yeah, and the drivers really have to play this carefully because you don't have to win the heat, you just have to finish it towards the front. That will give you a good grid position for the semi-final, and then that's maybe when you start to take a few more risks. But I don't think that Mateus Machado is going to take a huge risk here. If he sees a clear opportunity to attack for the lead, I'm sure he'll go for it, but if he's sensible, he may choose to bank this solid second place to start the night. You can see that he closes in though in that slipstream across the start-finish line, and these two actually are starting to make a bit of a break now, aren't they, from Ezekiel third and Luis in fourth place. And in fact, it's the second place car, Machado, who sets the new fastest lap. So these two look to be the class of the field at the moment.
Almeida doing a great job of leading the way. Machado just not able to get far enough to that back wing to be able to make a move. And you can see Ezekiel in the 17 falling back a little bit further. Same thing with Luis at the back of this train as well. This is a 2-car battle for the lead right now, unless Ezekiel or Luis can turn up the heat and start pressuring these drivers up in front. Handful of drivers in the pit lane, but you can see drivers still on the track working their way now across the line. 4 laps to go. Machado a little bit closer that time by. He just ran the fastest lap of the race so far, 52.099, as he is up in front trying to work his way to the race leaders. They were on their way through Druids onto Graham Hill and through the Graham Hill bend. Just not close enough to make that move, Andy. It gets so difficult when you're running so close to the car behind in front of you. You just can't get close enough to make the move. That seems like he's just stuck in that bubble of air that a lot of racers talk about.
Yeah, the best place by far to overtake in these cars on this track is at the end of this straight. Get a good exit from clearways, tuck into that slipstream through Clark Curve and across the start-finish line, and then maybe go up the inside into Paddock Hill Bend. This was a spin or a moment into the gravel at least a moment ago for Israel Lima. Now, he was running 5th at the time, and that was a costly error. Very easy to miss your braking point there. It's a bumpy braking zone into Paddock, and then with dirt on his tyres, he runs wide again into the next turn. But yeah, Paddock Hill Bend, one of the truly iconic corners in British and in fact world motor racing, but a really difficult one. It is, though, the best place to pass around this circuit.
Back onto the Cooper Straight. They'll come back around this time by to grab 2 laps to go. So that means lap time is running out for these drivers now out here on the track. And for Almeida up in front, they just need to try and hold on as much as they can. Taking a look at 2 battles now. This is the battle between Salvino and Mika for the 5th spot. The number 95 in front of Salvino, the number 4 Mika behind, and you can see Lima there fell down in the 37th to 7th place now as they run their way back to the front straightaway. Still taking a look at these drivers battling, and Lima struggling as they were inside the top 5 now, side by side going through the first corner. Mika inside, Salvino outside. Can Bruno Mika in the 4 get that car to the inside as they make their way through Druids? He is able to, but turning in a little bit too sharply is the 95. He's now gonna have Lima right on his outside. Here comes Lucas Santos into the picture as well. He'll go side by side with the 37.
Oh, brilliant racing there. There was almost some contact, wasn't there, going through Druids, but it was a clean pass in the end, I think, for Bruno Mika. And now he and Salvino looking to escape from this side-by-side battle behind, with Israel Lima not able to make the move. But how well is Salvino doing with no front wing? He sustained damage earlier on in the race, and he'll certainly be feeling a lack of front downforce as a result. The leaders, though, are on to the final lap, and look, there is traffic ahead. Could this be Machado's chance to attack for the victory?
That's Conrado Frossen. That will now get passed by the race leader. He'll get passed by 2nd place. And into Surtees for the final time in heat number 1. Not going to be enough for Macchiato, and it doesn't look like it's going to be enough through McLaren, through Clark Curve, and back to the front straightaway, the Brabham Straight. And across the line for the win here in heat number 1, it'll be Celio Almeida taking the win. Macchiato in 2nd place. Ezekiel Lewis and Mika round out your top 5. But what a win for Almeida. On board now with Lucas Santos. Can he get by Felipe Salvino up in front? He's within that slipstream. He'll step to the outside across the line. He's only going to get close by about a half car length, but at the line, it was enough. Santos got by just barely 4/1000ths of a second, separating the 2 for 6th at the line. An insane finish to heat number 1. The results will scroll across your screen, but heat number 1 was presented by AIM Technologies. AIM Technologies operate on a global scale and have decades of experience in the design and manufacture of software, hardware, and advanced technologies for the automotive industry. AIM Technologies offer a wide range of product solutions from lap timers to data loggers, displays, sensors, plus much more. Their motorsport products can be tailored to your exact requirements with your desired outcomes in mind. They understand the rigors of motor racing from track days to racing LMP1. Also, Heat 1 was presented by iZone Performance. iZone Performance is a motorsport center based at Silverstone that provides drivers with the resources they need to succeed. At the iZone Performance Center, they have state-of-the-art simulators, enabling them to offer training in a variety of different cars, from single-seaters to GT cars. iZone also focus on performance, psychology, physical performance, sim racer training, and an international driver training with remote training from drivers' own homes. Time time to get started with heat number 2 on the day. Gustavo Ariel will start on the pole. It's Pereira behind, then Pitanari, Targa, and Carmo rounding out your top 5. Pensieri, Colborn, Corani, Paive, Mendez, Costello, Oliveira, Medeiros, and Luca Jr. rounding out your 14 drivers who will start this heat race. And the green light comes on, and we are racing from Brands Hatch Indy Circuit for the second and final heat of the day. Diving into turn number 1, Ariel gonna grab the early lead. Is everybody gonna string out single file for the top 6 spots? Side by side, further back for 7th as a huge dive up to the inside is made. Look at the dive for it looked to be Carmo making that dive up the inside in the 1. Luis Pensieri in the 9 actually was the one making that dive on the 1 of Carmo. Back onto the Cooper Straight, on board with 8th place currently, James Colborn. A huge stack up in front of him. He has to try and avoid it. He'll run through the grass.
Oh, he did really well to save that, though, but then there's contact as he rejoins. That's Carlos Mendez that he got into, and a third car is involved as well. James Colborn did a great job initially to save the slide, but then as he rejoined, I think he had dirt on his tyres, and unfortunately, Carlos Mendez was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It looks like it was Castello, the third car, the number 2, that was involved, and he unfortunately heads to the pits with damage. Well, both of our heats have now had lap 1 incidents, that one thankfully involving a couple fewer cars, but it shows just how difficult these cars are to handle when those tyres are cold.
Cold tires there are, and James Colborn actually down in 11th just slammed into the barrier as we focus on a battle between Carmo and Pensieri, and right down to the inside goes Carmo. A great move for that number 1 machine. Pensieri will now fall back into 6th place. You can see that 9 getting very upset, and he'll go a little bit wide through the center of the corner as Paiva now going to try and catch up from 7th place up to 6th as we go on board with Paiva trying to catch up now to Pensieri up in front. Pensieri is not out of the range of Carmo just yet as we see Pereira, who currently runs in 2nd place, setting the fastest lap of the race so far.
Yeah, up into Druids they go then. There's a gap on the inside here. Paiva wants to go for it. He sticks his nose in the gap. Doesn't fully commit to the move, though. And that means as they come down the hill again, it's Pancheri who is a little bit quicker with that outside momentum, and he holds on now to this 6th position. This then is the fight for 5th place. At the front of the field, Gustavo Ariel is getting away, actually. He's about 6 or 7 tenths of a second ahead of Diego Tomas Pereira. Oh, another attempted move up the inside for Paiva, and actually he's forced Pancheri wide, and now he'll tuck back into that slipstream across the start-finish line. This is super close racing, exactly what we expected to see tonight. So far they've kept it clean, but well, we're only halfway through this heat, and I'm sure frustration will start to build here, because I think Paiva thinks that he is faster than these 2 ahead, but he just can't get through.
Still focusing on this battle for 6th place, or sorry, for 5th place between a lot of these drivers. It's 5th place up in front for Carmo. Down to the inside goes Paiva looking for the 6th spot on Pensieri. Not going to be able to get it as Pensieri is going to close the door, working their way through Graham Hill Bend. Down the Cooper Straight, here it comes, Paiva to the inside. Not going to be able to get close enough. That door shut very quickly with the 9 of Pensieri. He's going to open it slightly back up, working their way through Clark Curve. On board once again with Paiva. Coming across the line this time by, it'll be 4 laps to go here in the final heat of the day, heat number 2.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I can see this ending in tears, because I can just sense that Paiva is getting frustrated here. He's got another run out of paddock, though, and for the 3rd lap in a row, he goes up the inside of Pancheri into Druids. This time, though, he commits to it, and he does make the move stick. I'm quite glad that he did that, because, yeah, I could see him getting frustrated. I thought maybe at some point he was going to go for a really risky move, and in the end, he manages to make it look very easy and moves up that 1 extra place. So, just under half the race to go. Can he break into the top 5? He's got Tanya Carmo just ahead in the black number 1 car. Let's see just how much pace Paiva has. He's already closing in on that number 1, isn't he?
On board with a replay. Oh, and this was the slam into each other, I believe, on the first lap as we went on board with Costello. Costello still running down in 12th place. So that was a very unfortunate incident for everybody there involved on the first lap. 3 laps to go now. As leading the way, it's Gustavo Ariel ahead of Diego Pereira, Enrique Pipinari sitting in 3rd, Arthur Targa in 4th, and then the battle you're taking a look at for 5th as Carmo going to swing a little bit wide. Paiva on the inside line now, working their way through the left-hander. A dive through the corner for the 23, and up into 5th goes Marcos Paiva at the front now. Carmo and Pansiri will go battling for 6th. Out of Clark Curve, back to the back, Brabham straight, 2 to go. Can Pansiri try and rebound and gain one more spot? They started in 5th in this heat. Started in 6th in this heat, looking to work their way back into 6th, and you can see him getting loose going down into turn number 1.
Yeah, that's that bumpy braking zone I was talking about. It's so easy to lock the rear brakes there as you turn in, and it's difficult to save it from that point. But I'll tell you what, Paiva for me is the driver of the race here. He started this race in 9th, and I don't think he really gained a lot of places on the first lap. He's had to make all of those moves as we've gone deeper into the race, and he's made 2 really good ones on Pancheri and Carmo, and yeah, that number 23 car is just driven away from them. If this race had been another couple of laps longer, he might have even had a chance to get past Arthur Targa for 4th place. On to the final lap though, and this is how close it is at the front of the field, and Pereira is really pushing here as he tries. In fact, we've had the change. Ariel just ahead of Pereira, but Pereira is all over him heading into Druids.
Ariel trying to stay in front, started on the pole of heat number 2, trying to walk away with the win here in the heat as well. Diego Pereira sits in 2nd place. What can he do in that number 212 to try and pass the 12 machine in 1st, down into the Clark Curve, and it's not going to be enough. You can see the lap car behind him as well, going to stay behind, and your winner of heat number 2 will be Gustavo Ariel in the 12 to take the win here in heat 2. Pereira will come home 2nd place, a relatively easy 3rd and 4th place for Pipinari and Targa. Really didn't have a lot of battles here in this heat. Paiva will come home in 5th. Great drive for him. Carmo, Pansiri, Karaini, Mendez, Luca Jr., Colborn, and Costello. Still waiting on them to come across the line. But as you take a look at those full results, heat number 2 presented by Tenzi UK. Tenzi UK is a company belonging to the Tenzi Group, and they are the exclusive distributor of all Tenzi products on the UK market. Tenzi is an acknowledged manufacturer of professional cleaning agents used in gastronomy, industry, cars, households, and hotels. Our motto is advantage through quality. Heat number 2 was also sponsored by Swift Cooper. Swift Cooper is UK manufacturers of Formula Ford race cars and a professional race team. They design and manufacture car builds to the latest Formula Ford specifications, while also hiring out their championship-winning cars and running customer cars in their race team. Swift Cooper will be providing one of their latest cars for the winner of the Team Brazil Scholarship. Taking a look now at the starting grid for the first semi-final of the night, and it looks like it'll be the only semi-final of the night. We'll cut one car from this 29-car semi-final. Starting grid on your screen, and it'll be your 2 heat winners starting at the front of the grid, Almeida and Ariel. So, Andy, 2 heats leading up into this semi-final. We'll cut the final finishing driver, and then everybody else will go racing in tonight's feature race. But this is a little bit of a warm-up for these drivers. 12 laps as opposed to 20.
Yeah, and of course your finishing position in this race will dictate where you start the final, so I think we saw the drivers taking it pretty easy in race 1. That will not continue to be the case in race 2.
And it looks like a bit of a jump start from a driver further back, but the green light comes on. We're underway. 24 drivers going racing here in the first semi-final. as it looked like Panseri started from the pits. Almeida and Ariel will go into the first corner. Here comes Ariel trying to work his way to the outside. Mikado in third. Pereira, Ezekiel round out your top 5 as drivers still going side by side further back.
Yeah, but cleaner start this time, isn't it? They've learned their lesson, I think, from the 2 heats, and we've had a pretty safe start so far with Almeida out in front, like you said, our Heat 1 winner then, leading our Heat 2 winner at the moment with Mateus Machado and Diego Thomas Pereira 3rd and 4th, and it's going to be a lot harder to break away here. We've got even more quick drivers at the front of the grid, and let's see just how racy they're prepared to be. It is a 4-car breakaway at the moment as they head across the line, and for the time being, these 4 drivers content to work together, I think. If they start battling each other, they'll lose time, and this group of cars will catch up to them, and this is not a fight that the top 4 want to be in.
Side by side for the race lead. Ariel going to go right around Almeida. So that will put the 12 of Gustavo Ariel now to the front of the field. Almeida's not done. Right on that back wing. Mikado there as well. Pereira there as well, sitting in 4th. Covering off the spot will be Ariel. Almeida sits now in 2nd. Can Solio Almeida get back up to the lead? This is going to be a challenging run down the Brabham Straight because it is a 4-car breakaway up at the front. All of them trying to contend for the lead, as blocking off the spot will be Ariel as they go by a lapped machine.
Oh, yeah, that was tricky there. Car coming out of the pit lane, I think, just into this lead group. A good run out of Paddock Hill Bend there for Almeida. Looks to the inside, to the outside. There's no way through, though. Good defense that from Gustavo Ariel. Behind these two, though, it's side-by-side look for 3rd position. That's Pereira, the black car, trying to get past the white number 27 of Mateus Machado. Machado just holding on for now, but I said that I thought this would be a more aggressive race. The drivers are really fighting for every inch of track position, and they are not working together, are they? We've got a real fight on our hands here at the front.
On board now with the driver sitting in 4th place, it's Pereira. You can see this 4-car breakaway up at the front here in the only semi-final now of the night as they all just try and run away and sideways going through the first corner. It is going to be Gustavo Ariel. Can Almeida use this to his advantage, try and grab the lead? Unfortunately, not able to do so. So that'll keep Almeida in 2nd place, keep Ariel up front, as everybody running single file now down the Cooper Straight into Surtees once again. All through the field, drivers just trying to find their rhythm now, as this is the most amount of cars that we have had on the track at a single time all night. Handful of drivers getting involved in an incident further back at the Graham Hill Bend, but we stay on the battle for the lead.
Yeah, there was also a collision at Paddock a lap ago, which I think, unfortunately, caught up a couple of quick drivers. It looked as though maybe Luis Panchieri was involved. Also, we had Marcus Piver was delayed. He's dropped down to 14th place now, so a couple of quick drivers getting themselves into trouble as we head towards the midpoint of the race. But this leading group of 4, these do look like the pace setters, don't they? They've built a nice gap over Washington Luis there. Look, the black number 25 car in 5th, then an even bigger gap now back to Arthur Targa after that collision that I mentioned at Paddock Hill Bend. Drivers using all of the curb there through Surtees, sliding the cars into Clearways corner. It's all important, though, to get on the power out of Clearways, because then you're flat all the way through Clark Curve, all the way across the start-finish line and into Paddock Hill Bend, where Suelio Almeida is going to have a challenge to the inside. No, goes to the outside instead, ducking and diving as he tries to get the track position advantage over Gustavo Ariel, but Ariel, for the time being, is hanging on to this lead quite nicely. I'm impressed with what Gustavo is doing here, because he's not overly defending. He's not just driving around the inside of the track. He defends where he needs to, but when he doesn't think Almeida's close enough, he sticks to the racing line, keeps the momentum up. This is really, really good driving from our race leader.
It'll be halfway home this time by Ariel up front, Almeida in 2nd, Mikado, Pereira, Luis round out your top 5. Great run for that number 25 machine. just not able to do anything up at the front, it seems like, Andy, in regards to Almeida trying to grab the lead. You can see he gets so close, but the defense from Gustavo Ariel is something to really watch. As to the outside goes Almeida, but just not able to get it. He's blocking the inside line pretty much from the exit of Clark Curve all the way down to Paddock Hill Bend. And you can see him still going down there defending, just not letting the 20 get to the inside. Seems like great strategy for Ariel, and if he can keep this up, he will be starting in the lead for the feature race. And that is going to be huge if he wants to keep that lead for all 20 laps of the feature.
Yeah, this is impressive stuff, and of course what's playing into Ariel's hands here is the fact that Machado and Pereira are right there on the gearbox of Almeida in second place. So if Suelio Almeida wants to make the move on Ariel, has to go offline to try and make that happen, he runs the risk of losing second and maybe even third place as well. So really, when you're in a train of cars like this, you want to be either at the front or the back. You don't really want to be stuck in the middle, because then you're attacking and defending at the same time. And Almeida this time makes the mistake, runs into the gravel out of Paddock Hill Bend. Machado goes up the inside towards Druids Corner. We are side by side almost for second place, and this is music to the ears of our race leader Gustavo Ariel, who immediately starts to make a break on these three.
Ariel running away now at the front. Almeida with the mistake. He'll fall back to the clutches of Mikado. Question is, can Mikado now get by for second place? It's Pereira just watching, waiting for something to happen in P4. Ariel running away, 6/10 now. The gap between first and second place as Almeida struggles from second place. They have a lap machine coming up that could affect this battle, as we'll run back to a battle for 8th place currently on the timing charts, and it is going to be the battle between Rufino and it looks like Carmo for 7th. Rufino right down to the grass on the inside, looking for 7th place. They'll be side by side, wheel to wheel, down into the first corner, and taking it will be Rufino.
That was really good driving, but then he takes too much curb. Look at Paddock, bounces out wide, and so Carmo goes straight back up the inside. Good reaction there for Carmo to see that opportunity to reclaim the mistake. It was Carmo that made the mistake at Clearways, ran a little bit too wide. He allowed Rufino up the inside, and he does the same again at Graham Hill Bend. He just invites the number 11 car to go through, and on this occasion, Rufino is not going to give him a chance to come back on the exit of the corner. Brilliant battling between those two. They could not have been much closer there coming out of Graham Hill Bend, and somehow they avoided making significant contact. So through goes the number 11 car of Rufino, then Carmo down to 8th, and that just allows Arthur Targa in the number 5 to pull a bit of a gap on them.
Bit of an unexpected fastest lap last time by for Pereira in 4th. Great run for the number 21 machine, as these cars still going sparring, and the 111 of Rufino doing a great job. They go side by side, they tap wheels, heading in to Druids now out of Hillwoods Hill. Still side by side, Carmo outside now, Rufino inside for this left-hander. Carmo trying to cross over once again, but he can't do it. He'll stay in that 8th spot right behind the 1. He lets off a little bit early heading into that corner as well. He's going to continue to struggle.
Oh, he's really trying everything here. Tries to back up the entry for Clearways so that he can carry a bit more speed through the middle. It didn't quite work though, did it? And this battle is only going to intensify, I think, as we move into the closing stages now. Up to Paddock Hill Bend they go. Carmo looking to the inside. He's not quite late enough on the brakes to get the move made though. But they both make it into the corner. Inches between the front of the number 1 car and the back of the number 11, but it's number 1 up the inside again. And Carmo challenges once more into Druids Corner for 7th position. Tanya Carmo here is absolutely desperate to get this 7th place away. He's on the grass turning into Graham Hill Bend, and that's going to just hurt his mid-corner speed. And once again, he has to settle in behind. The leaders, though, are onto the final lap, Josh, and look how close it is.
Almeida set the fastest lap of the race last time by side now heading into the corner. Not going to be able to get close enough to make the move heading through. You saw in the side by side just for a moment a bit of contact between the 1 and the 111 of Rufino and Carmo. We'll focus on the battle heading down the Cooper Straight for the win here in the semifinal. Going into Surtees, McLaren, Clark curve, back to the Brabham straight. One final opportunity for Almeida, sending it up the inside. Not going to be able to grab the spot. Out in front, taking the win here in the only semifinal of the night. It'll be Gustavo Ariel with Almeida coming home in second.
Oh, Almeida threw everything at that. I really thought that might work as well, because Ariel left a big gap on the inside into clearways, but thankfully they avoided contact. Now, what's going to happen in this battle for 7th, because they're even closer coming out of the final corner. A big wobble there from Rufino as he turned into the last corner, but he's just about going to get the power down and hang on at the flag. You'd think these two were fighting for the race win, though, wouldn't you, given how hard the battle was? And it's the same story wherever you look. Marcus Piver here recovering after some contact earlier on. He's going to lose out here, though, on 11th place at the line. The 48 of Carlos Signoretti gets him in the final few hundred meters of the race. Brilliant racing there from the very front to the very back of the grid.
And like we mentioned, this will be the only semi-final of the night. We'll transition over and head into the feature. As you take a look at the results here for the only semi-final of the night. This semi-final race was presented firstly by RaceSpotTV. The RaceSpotTV is a live broadcasting team with a difference. They focus on things that matter to viewers the most, and that's providing a top quality product every single race. No gimmicks, no false promises, just awesome online broadcasting. RaceSpot are providing this broadcast for the Team Brazil iRacing Festival. Also brought to you by DriveTech Ltd. DriveTech Ltd are a driving events company based in the south of England. They provide skid control, karting, and 4x4 driving experiences for the general public, corporate companies, small and large groups, as well as provide driver training for a number of public and private bodies. As we take a look at the final results from the semi-final, we'll head in to the warm-up for the finale. About 3.5 minutes left on that 5-minute warm-up clock, and a handful of drivers taking to the track now. And Andy, it has been an amazing night of racing so far. We've seen side by side, we've seen contact. I don't think they're done just yet, especially with what's at the end of the line here in victory lane for the winner of this finale.
Yeah, because remember, the winner of tonight's final will become the first of 6 scholarship finalists, and then those 6 finalists will go on to compete in the scholarship. The judges for that include Adriano Medeiros, who we spoke to a little bit earlier on, Roberto Moreno as well, who was the 1980 Formula Ford Festival champion himself, also went on to be a podium finisher in Formula 1, and Jaume Fagaccia as well, who was a multiple Brazilian racing champion. So the scholarship has a judging panel that know their stuff, and the winner of tonight's event will be the first of the 6 drivers who will enter into that scholarship for the chance to race in the prestigious Formula Ford Festival at the end of the year. So there is a lot riding on this race, and you know, we've seen, haven't we, the intensity level just picking up slightly from race by race. The heats, they weren't taking too many risks, at least the leaders weren't. They just wanted to finish, get some experience under their belt. Then in the semi-final, it picked up a little bit more. Over the course of this final now, the longest race of the night as well, I think things are really going to start to get exciting.
Just a handful of minutes now before we get going here in the finale, and we've seen the classic drivers up in front. It's been Gustavo Ariel, it's been Almeida, it's been Machado, it's been Pereira. Do you think we might see a surprise name get themselves up to the front here in the finale? Because this isn't just setting the stage for the finale. They're on the stage now of the finale. And with the prize at the end of the tunnel for these drivers, it is going to be, there's a lot more riding on this race than we have seen all night.
Well, yeah, and it's easy to look at those top 4 from the semi-final, Ariel, Almeida, Machado and Pereira, and say, well, it's going to be one of those 4, but if those four really get involved in a big fight amongst themselves, which they probably will, it could open the door for somebody like Washington Luis, for example, to come charging through and really get into the battle as well. We've seen a few other drivers actually that have impressed us over the course of the night as well. Paiva, definitely one of them. Marcus Paiva in the number 23. He's going to be starting towards or just outside the top 10 on the grid, but if there's a bit of chaos at the front of the field, then yeah, you never know. Some of those drivers could come through. And we see this every year in the real world Formula Ford Festival. There's always that one driver that didn't really hit anybody's radar throughout the early part of the event. But then when we get into the final, they make a good start, they make some good moves, and suddenly they're in the conversation for the race win.
Getting ready to work our way to tonight's finale event, and tonight's finale race sponsored by OnPole. OnPole is a specialist consultancy focused on developing and maintaining high performance. Working with senior management teams and key personnel, they blend extensive industry experience with best practice from the military and elite sports to create dynamic learning and developmental environments. Grabbing a look at Marcos Paiva in the 23 as the clock will expire here on the warm-up for tonight's feature race. Now time to take a look at the starting grid for tonight's feature. A lot of drivers will be taking the green flag here tonight, roughly about 24 to be specific. Getting a great look at the beautiful Brands Hatch Circuit. There's the starting grid now. It will be Ariel and Almeida on the front row. Who's going to win the drag race down into the first corner? We'll see once that green light comes on. Down the rest of the grid, watch for Rufino, Carmo, Santos, Lima. They were having great battles before the checkered flag in the semifinals. Same thing with Paiva. Great battles from them as well. Costello, Salvino, Mika, Mendez, Karani, and Ezekiel down on 18th. Ezekiel was very fast in his heat. Watch for him to try and march his way up through the field, assuming he doesn't get caught up in a race incident. And you can see rounding out the field all the way down the starting grid, 28 drivers like originally planned are set to take the green flag here for the feature race tonight. And everybody will get lined up on the grid. 20 laps. We are ready to go racing in the Team Brazil iRacing Festival, and the green light comes on. Let's go racing from Brands Hatch. It's a drag race down into turn number 1. Ariel trying to cover up the spot. Almeida will stay on the outside. Going into the corner, they'll single file out. Almeida trying to hold strong. You're on board with the drivers as they race downhill, back uphill into Druids for the first time here in the feature. Side by side between the 212 and the 27. They'll work their way out of Druids and down the Graham Hill into Graham Hill Bend. It's Ariel ahead of Almeida, ahead of multiple other drivers. You can see Mikado trying to fight in the number 27 from third. Pereira, a surprise name, up in third now. Rounding out your top 5, it'll be Washington Luis.
Yeah, Pereira's had a good start there. Then he's jumped ahead of Machado, which is important, I think, for when we get deeper into this race, because it's going to be hard now to make any further progress given how
the hill.
Evenly matched these drivers are. So,
and across the start-finish line to complete lap number 1. Can Almeida make anything happen?
Yeah, this is going to be close, isn't it? Then through paddock
file,
they go.
Down the hill they go, out of the first corner, and you can see Almeida just trying to swerve, trying to get to the lead. Ariel doing an amazing job playing defense to stay in the front.
There we go. Sorry, I think you lost me for a second there. Yes, this lead battle then looking pretty intense now as they head down the Cooper Straight. 5 of them together. So the extra one we've got is that black number 25 of Washington Luis, who I did think if he could get away with this lead pack, might have...
Through Clark Curve on back to the Brabham Straight. Fighting up in the front right now. It is this entire top 5 breakaway. Back to the outside for Almeida. Can they get around Ariel for the lead? Just not close enough as they work their way back through the first corner. Through Druids once again. Oh, and off track goes the 20. There's the mistake for Almeida. Sitting in third now is Pereira. We'll go on board with him. The mistake from Almeida, he didn't lose too much time. Through Clark Curve, down the Brabham Straight. Can Almeida take that lead back? He made a mistake. Didn't look like it hurt him too much. Back through the first corner in the Paddock Hill bend, and you can see the 212 stepping out and right back into line for third. As everybody in this top 5 stays in one single file line. Ariel still sitting in first, Almeida second, Pereira, Mercado, and Lewis rounds out your top 5 currently. And Ariel starting to pull away slightly as well. 3/10 now the gap. It's 5/10 back to Pereira from the lead. And you'd see this group a lot like a draft train you'd see at Daytona or Talladega. Or if you want to compare open wheel like you'd see at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the Indy 500, everybody just using slipstream, staying comfortably in each other's slipstream. As you can see, slight door opened up on the inside for Almeida, but Ariel slamming that door and making sure it is shut tight and locked as he'll keep the lead.
Yes, so out of Graham Hill Bend they go then, and yeah, this battle living up to expectations, but Gustavo Ariel has just been so difficult to overtake all night. I don't know if Almeida's going to be able to do it. Contact through Graham Hill Bend there further back in the pack. That's Felipe Salvino, who needs to be careful on the rejoin. The hair almost got into the side of Tania Carmo there. That's unfortunate. And then another spin there for Fabrizio Miranda de Oliveira in the number 77. It looks like he might have some steering damage possibly as well. So a bit of desperation perhaps starting to kick in now for those that are deeper in the field.
So up in front, still Ariel, still Almeida. This is the story we have seen since the semi-final, and it's pretty much exactly continued like we expected it to, Andy, with Ariel being in front, then Almeida in second, making slight mistakes, not really losing too much time, but just not being able to get the lead because of the insane defensive driving that we're seeing from the 12 of Gustavo Ariel. On board with Mercado in fourth, same story for him. He can't move any further. Same thing for Pereira. They can't move any further. Seems like the same song, just a different verse here in the feature race.
Yeah, it's just a stalemate situation, isn't it, really? Everyone in the middle of this group is so scared to make a move in case it doesn't work, and then that loss of momentum or putting yourself offline could leave you open to an attack from those behind. Bit of a defensive move there from Pereira, the black number 212 car just ahead of us, as we ride on board with Mateus Machado down the hill into Graham Hill Bend. A real roller coaster ride, this short Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, using all of the run-off Washington. Luis there running even wider than the leaders in the background as he now starts to lose touch. So again, it's these four that are just rising to the occasion, aren't they? Building a gap now on the rest of the field.
Back to the Brabham Straight, and they'll head on to lap number 8. Now, if you remember back to the beginning of the night here in the first heats, those races were 8 laps, and you even going from 8 laps to 12 laps is a little bit of a jump. 4 laps separating the heats and the semi-final, but that jump from 12 to 20 is a lot different. These drivers have been used to those short sprints that we had in the heats and the semi-final. Now they're in a long marathon race. Obviously not quite long in the scope of a lot of races. It's 20 laps at the relatively short Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, but still a lot of racing and a lot of time compared to what we have had tonight as we take a look at the 4 of Mika going right on by the 48.
Yeah, and these race lengths. Oh, a back marker there, a slower car right in the way of the leaders, and that has blown a hole in the defences of our race leader, Gustavo Ariel. Almeida went to the right of the back marker.
Still in front now, it's going to be Almeida. A pass for the lead made in turn number 1. Here comes Ariel now trying to take it back. Seemed like that crossover move finally is going to work for the 20. They're side by side for the race lead. Pushing him off track is going to be Almeida. Ariel now sits in second place. Back to the Cooper straight they go. Now, when is that 20 gonna make a mistake? It seemed like Ariel all night long has been relatively perfect, with Almeida with the pressure making tiny little mistakes that could cost him this race win. If there's any time for that 20 to be perfect, it's right now as we go on board with Pereira trying to take second place from Ariel. He'll fall back now on the Brabham Straight.
That was so unfortunate, though. That slower car just didn't seem to see them coming. But here comes Ariel with another run to the outside now at Paddock. There is grip on the outside if you're
turn
brave
number
enough.
1, and you can see the 22 along. Sorry, that 212 along with the 27 have been starting to work their way up through the field.
So, back along the Cooper Straight they go, and these 4 drivers, what a fight we are having here between our 4 drivers at the front then. Almeida tight to the inside, Ariel to the outside, and Ariel will be so frustrated at the way that back marker got in his way. I would love to see it again. I don't know whether the back marker just didn't see them coming, surely wouldn't have got in the way on purpose, but now Almeida has the track position advantage and is forcing Ariel to the outside. Into Paddock they go, down the hill again, absolutely nose to tail as they go underneath the pedestrian bridge, and all the time Diego Tomas Pereira and Mateus Machado are keeping a watching brief there in 3rd and 4th. Down the hill into Grey Hill Bend again, we are into the second half of what is proving to be a frenetic final here in our Team Brazil Scholarship event. So through to Clark Curve we go then. We're on board with the race leader, Suelio Almeida, looking back at Gustavo Ariel, another back marker there, which thankfully does a better job of getting out of the way, but Almeida runs wide. There was almost a chink in the armour there of the number 20 car as they went out of clearways across the start-finish line once again. There's a puff of smoke in front of them. That's another lapped car having a drama, I think. Through into Paddock they go, and that's been a big shunt in front of them, and it's caused a mistake for Almeida. So back markers are playing a huge role in all of this. Almeida runs wide at Paddock, and just like that, Almeida, oh no, there's contact now for the race leader. Gustavo Ariel has contact with a lapped car. That was the number 10 of Sergio Roberto Luca Jr., and that almost spelled disaster for Gustavo Ariel. There have only really been these 3 significant moments in the race, and they have all involved lapped cars getting in the way. And well, I suppose it's sort of evened itself out now, because the first of those incidents cost Gustavo Ariel the lead, and the second of them allowed him to get it back. So through into clearways and Clark Curve we go again, on board with Ariel. Almeida behind in the blue number 20 car, goes to the outside line. Into Paddock, the high, wide and handsome line, and then tries to cut back to the late apex, carry the speed down through the hill and up Hailwood's Hill, then into Druids Corner. But Gustavo Ariel, now that he's got that lead back, will not want to give it away once again. And look, you can see the way Diego Tomas Pereira is now starting to sniff around behind these two as he sees a chance maybe to get involved. The cars in 3rd and 4th are going to have to get involved at some point here, because they've sort of been watching this battle unfold up until this point, but we're running out of laps now. This is the 13th lap now of 20. We're about to complete the 13th lap, and that means we're now into the final third of the race. Now, there's another back marker ahead. That's the 13 of Conrado Frassen, which might have been the car that got involved in this at the very start of that weird chain of events that we saw. And Gustavo Ariel will not want to see this. There's a bit of a mistake there maybe from Almeida. Runs wide through Paddock, but gets back to the inside. And again, the back marker's not getting out of the way in time. And Gustavo Ariel almost running into the back there of Conrado Frassen. They head out of the right-hander again. Thankfully, the positions stay the same, but every time this group now comes up against a back marker, they're going to stop panicking, or at least Gustavo Ariel will. For Almeida, Pereira and Machado, it's an opportunity to maybe take advantage of a bit of misfortune for the race leader to possibly have a go at getting the lead back. Back out of Clearways and Clark Curve we go again then. 6 laps of the race to go, and it's now the 10 of Sergio Roberto Luca Jr., who had that spin earlier on, who is the next car to go a lap down. He locks up ahead of them. Now, which way will he go? He's got to stay out of the way. There should be blue flags waving. The leaders go to the inside, partly to defend and also partly to get up the inside of the lapped car. And in fairness there, Sergio did a good job of staying out of the way of the leading 4. So I believe we have lost Josh for the time being. We'll get him back hopefully before this race ends, but that is just 5.5 laps away now. We are nearing the completion of our grand final. The winner of this race will take up the first of 6 of the Team Brazil scholarship spots, and then we'll fight it out with the other 5 scholarship winners to earn that drive in the Brands Hatch Formula Ford Festival, the 50th anniversary special of that iconic event that has bred so many Formula One sports car, GT and touring car champions who have gone on to have success all around the world, including 3 Brazilians down the years as well. And look at this, we've got 4 of them now absolutely together, and there's contact between the race leaders, was there? Almeida into the back of Ariel. It delays the pair of them and gives Diego Tomas Pereira a chance maybe to go to the outside. Just no way through. This is a real pressure cooker race, isn't it? It's just building and building. We've had a couple of moments where it looked like it might explode into action, and now with less than 5 laps left, we are less than a quarter of the way from the end of this race. One of these 4, you would have to be fairly certain, should win the race, because Washington Luis now in 5th position is a further sort of 5 seconds behind, or 6 seconds in fact behind these 4. So it would take something pretty dramatic for him to get back into it. So it's down to these 4 drivers now as they go through to start another lap then. The inside line for the leader, the outside line for Almeida in 2nd place. He's not really trying to go right round the outside there, just trying to get the better exit from the corner. He's on the grass though as they go up the hill, but Ariel again gets across to cover it just about in time, with Machado there looking to the outside of Pereira, 3rd position. But once more, as so many laps earlier it's been the case, they come off Druids in exactly the same order as they went into it, with the turquoise and black number 12 car just about holding on to the advantage. Well, Ariel has been the best of the defensive drivers all night long, that is for sure. He led every lap of his heat. There's another spinner in front of them. Thankfully rolls out of the way. Didn't quite catch the number on that car, but thankfully they did not become a factor in this 4-car fight for the lead, which goes through onto the 18th lap now. 3 laps remain in the race, and Almeida is running out of options here. He keeps trying this outside line. There's a mistake from Pereira in 3rd, and that's going to give Machado a chance to jump into the podium places. He's got the inside line in the white number 27 car at Druids, and it looks as though he's going to go through. So a change for 3rd then. Machado back ahead of Pereira, which means they're back now in the positions in which they started then, because Machado started 3rd, Pereira was 4th, and in fact Ariel and Almeida started 1st and 2nd as well. Now here's this troublesome number 13 car to be negotiated again, and it gets in the way, does it, of Machado in 3rd. Yeah, Machado lost a bit of ground there, but they all survived the incident. That should be the last time they have to lap Conrado Frasson, who has not made many friends today, must be said. Right, 2 laps to go then across the start-finish line and up towards Paddock Hill Bend then. Ariel, has Almeida got anything left in his locker to throw at our race-long, well, almost race-long race leader? Ariel did lose the lead there for a couple of laps in the middle, got it back when another back marker got in the way of Almeida, and now they'll be hoping for clear track ahead for the last lap and a half. We're on board with Almeida in 2nd place. Inch perfect, the line through and out of Graham Hill Bend. They can use that runoff area initially without exceeding track limits. The same is true then as they turn into Surtees. Now you can throw it up the inside here into Clearways, but Ariel had that one covered, holds the tight line, and so the only option left now really is for Almeida to try and get him that slipstream, but he's running out of time. This is the final lap of the race that we're starting then. Our grand final here at Brands Hatch for the Team Brazil Scholarship. Across the start-finish line, Almeida looking to the inside line, but that line is covered just about by Gustavo Ariel, and that might well have been the last opportunity then for Suelio Almeida to get through, because although there are some other places you can overtake here, it's always going to be a really risky lunge. But this is the final. It might be worth having a go at that 50-50 lunge if it can give you that big prize of winning the event. He couldn't be any closer to Gustavo Ariel as they come off Graham Hill Bend. Half a lap to go. Down towards Surtees they go. Ariel holding on. There's another back marker ahead. Let's hope they don't catch it before the flag. Into the final corner they go. Almeida goes up the inside line. There's a gap being left by Ariel, but he'll come off the corner better. And it looks as though Gustavo Ariel is going to hang on by the skin of his teeth to win the race tonight, to win the grand final of the Team Brazil Scholarship iRacing event. He takes the checkered flag by just over 1/10 of a second from the hard-charging Suelio Almeida. That could not have been a lot closer. And Mateus Machado was third, and Diego Tomas Pereira in fourth position. What a race, what a battle. And it's not over yet, because some of the minor places are still being debated. That was Enrique Pettinari in sixth, just bending off Thiago Ezekiel there for seventh place that was, in the number 6 car. Bruno Mika here is also in a scrap. That's James Colburn ahead, and we go the inside, and there's contact, and Colburn ends up off into the gravel. It's not the first time he's been off in this race, it would appear, because he's missing his rear wing already. But for the race leaders, finally a chance to breathe for Gustavo Ariel then, who does win our grand final here at Brands Hatch. Absolutely brilliant racing though from all 4 of those leaders in some pretty difficult circumstances, with all of the back markers, a long race as well. And Gustavo Ariel really seemed to have an answer there for everything that Suelio Almeida threw at him. So fantastic racing then here at Brands Hatch. Huge congratulations to Gustavo Ariel, who gets himself that race victory. He won all 3 of his races tonight. He won his heat, he won his semi-final, and he wins in the grand final as well. And he will become the first of the Team Brazil Scholarship finalists. Well, here is the result then. Gustavo Ariel wins by just over 1/10 of a second from Suelio Almeida in second. Mateus Machado was third. Diego Tomas Pereira was fourth. And Washington Luis in the end dropped back some way in 5th place. Marcus Paiva was 6th. He came up the order nicely, as we thought he would. Enrique Pettinari was 7th, ahead of Thiago Ezekiel, Tania Carmo and Israel Lima to round out the top 10. And outside the top 10, we had the likes of Carlos Signoretti, Cristiano Carrini, Bruno Mika, James Colburn. After that, contact to the end came across the line in 14th, with Lucas Santos in 15th place. And a few of our potential frontrunners hit some trouble in the early stages of that one, looking particularly at people like Luis Pansieri, who was only 18th in the end. Carlos Mendes was only 24th. So some drivers that we saw running reasonably strongly in some of their heats earlier on, unfortunately not able to make it to the end. And there you can see some of those. Arthur Targa, another one as well. Arthur Targa was 4th in his heat earlier on, but only manages 17th in the final and 2 laps down, after we have to presume some contact in the early stages that unfortunately took him out of contention. So the Team Brazil Scholarship then will roll on now into the next stages of the competition. And I'm really excited to see who comes out on top, because I will have the privilege once again this year of actually commentating on the real world Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch in October, the 50th event, the 50th anniversary event for the Formula Ford Festival. And it's set to be an absolute thriller. It's produced some incredible racing drivers over the year that have won the Formula Ford Festival. It is really a who's who of motor racing. People like Jenson Button, Mark Webber, Russell Ingall, Jan Magnussen, Mark Goosens, Vincenzo Sospiri, Eddie Irvine, Roland Ratzenberger. The list simply goes on and on. There were 3 Brazilian winners of the festival: Chico Serra in 1977, Roberto Moreno in 1980, and Nico Perales in 1989. And who knows, maybe one of the drivers that we saw racing here tonight could end up winning the Formula Ford Festival this year. A reminder as well that our grand final was sponsored by OnPole. OnPole is a specialist consultancy focused on developing and maintaining high performance, working with senior management teams and key personnel. They blend extensive industry experience with best practice from the military and elite sports to create dynamic learning and developmental environments. And we thank all of our sponsors who have chipped in this for this fantastic event with AIM Technologies, iZone Performance, Tenzi UK, Swift Cooper, Drive Tech Limited, RaceSpotTV and OnPole as well. We thank them all for their support of this event, and hopefully that support will continue on into the future. What a brilliant set of races we were treated to, and in true Formula Ford Festival fashion, it really built and built to the very end. The heats were pretty tame, certainly at the front, with drivers not really wanting to take too many risks. But then we got into the semi-finals, and suddenly it started to dawn on them that was some racing to be done, maybe, as they tried to get themselves the best possible position on the grid for the final. And then in that final, well, we were treated to an absolute classic, and all of the drivers that were in that lead four-car battle, really, can be very proud of themselves for the show that they've put on. And it was the kind of racing that this circuit always produces. It's not that hard to run close to the other cars here at Brands Hatch, but finding a way past them can sometimes be tricky. And so Elio Almeida must have thought that all of his Christmases had come at once then when he had the moment with the back markers. He got past Gustavo Ariel, and then, well, he must have thought maybe that was his job done, but unfortunately another slower car got in his way a few laps later, and Ariel needed no second invitation to move back through into the race lead, a lead that he would hold then to the very end. As I said, huge thanks to all of our sponsors, huge thanks to everyone else who have been working on the broadcast, and also for those of you at home who have tuned in, and maybe some of you who perhaps have not seen the Formula Ford Festival in the past might choose to tune in October this year for what is a brilliant 2 days of racing. It all really culminates in the grand finale, though, on the Sunday. Right, I think we might be able to have a word then with our race winner. Our first Team Brazil Scholarship finalist, Gustavo Ariel, joins us now in the commentary box. Gustavo, a huge congratulations. That looked like a really, really fun race to be involved in.
Good evening, guys. My English is not the very best, but I try to to explain the race. Well, at the qualifying, Suel is very fast. I know was very tough to race with him in the beginning, but I could manage the race, the final race, and very good fights, and the traffic is very tough in the middle, and well, no words to say. Congratulations to all guys, and thank you so much the team, my girlfriend, my viewers on Twitch. Thank you all, guys. As I said, my English is not the very best, but I'm very happy, and congratulations to all. And let's see, we can improve our English to go to England and make a good race there. Thank you so much, and good evening.
I'll tell you, your English is better than my Portuguese, so I'm pretty impressed with that. Huge congratulations, and yeah, look forward to seeing how you get on through the rest of the scholarship.
Thank you. Thanks so much again, and let's see. Bye.
Gustavo Ariel then is our winner here at Brands Hatch. Now, we've also got Mateus Machado, who has jumped into the commentary box with us as well. Mateus finished third in that race, and well, that was quite the battle, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. The gaps were very close throughout the race. It was I could notice that in qualifying, that it would be between the four of us, and yeah, the race went like that. Everyone separated by 1 second, and yeah, the race was all about staying in the pack and waiting to be in a good position to try something at the end. And unfortunately, I couldn't try for the win. But yeah, I was really happy to have a fair and clean fight with all the 4 guys that were in front in the finals and in the qualifier races as well.
Yeah, it looked to me as though you and Diego in the first half of that final were quite happy just to sit there and let the battle in front develop. But about halfway through the race, I could see that that's when you really started to push. But it's hard to overtake, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very hard. I think only turn 2 is very clear overtaking points. Everywhere else, you need to really force to make the move stick. So yeah, it was about waiting for the guy ahead to make a mistake and then go for the move. And yeah, for the first half of the race, I would say the first 3/4 of the race, I was very cautious because the only P1 was the ultimate prize today. So yeah, risking it before the end and putting myself out of contention early wasn't an option for me. So yeah, and also with the draft, it was really easy to catch up. So it wasn't like I would overtake and I could open up a gap. So yeah, it was a management race. I think Ariel did a very good job in that. And yeah, as I said, it was really fun to battle today.
It was a lot of fun to watch as well, and yeah, congratulations to yourself for at least getting onto the podium. That's not a bad result.
Yeah, thanks for sure. I wasn't really expecting it, to be honest. Didn't know where I would be because there were no official races prior to the event. So yeah, I didn't know where I would stand in terms of pace. But yeah, I am glad it turned out nice. And yeah, thank you guys for the broadcast. It was really good.
Well, thank you very much, Mateus, and we'll hear from you again very shortly, I'm sure. Right then, final interview, I think, is with the other driver that made it onto the podium. Second place in the end for Suelio Almeida. Well, that was a dramatic race. It really looked as though you might be able to win it when you got the lead halfway through the race, but those lapped cars were not helping you, were they?
Yeah, exactly. When I had that situation and I got the lead, I was like, well, this is probably gonna happen several times again in this race. So I wasn't celebrating at all when that happened. And well, maybe I should have been a little bit more optimistic. It actually happened again, and I didn't deal very well with a wing that was placed in the middle of the track. I was trying to avoid it or thinking if I should avoid it or not, if it was gonna give me some damage. And well, thinking about that in a matter of fraction of seconds made me lose the line and eventually the position. So yeah, it's a close enough racing here, especially because of that much draft we have here. That I knew it was gonna be decided by situation, by small stuff that would happen in the race. So, but I'm really happy with the performance. I didn't practice a lot because I was running from the qualifiers for the World Championship in the Dallara IR01, also in iRacing. And then I ran here to try to get to the pace. I got to the pace. I was really understanding the car very well, and the race was super clean, really good. Me and Ariel, we did race for a long time, for several months already, and it's always like that, super close. And we even had some contact here and there, and we had some scary moments there with traffic. But that's part of that's what makes a good racing. So yeah, I'm really happy. I didn't win the race, but yeah, I'm happy with the P2. I'm happy with the closeness of this result, and that's it.
Well, you certainly impressed us and gave us one heck of a show. So thank you for that, and best of luck in the future.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it then. Suelio Almeida in second place. Third place went to Mateus Machado, but the race win in the final goes the way of Gustavo Ariel, and he is the first of our Team Brazil scholarship finalists. There will be 5 more to join him on the quest to get that elusive drive with the Swift Cooper team in the Brands Hatch Formula Ford Festival. Well, that is just about all we have time for then. It's been a fantastic night of racing with 2 brilliant heats earlier on tonight. A semi-final kept us guessing right to the end, and then finally it was a grand final for the ages, a 4-way shootout all the way through, and yeah, went right down to the end with Gustavo Ariel getting himself the victory in the final. Thank you again to everyone that has helped us put this event together, all of the hardworking people at RaceSpotTV as well. Thank you to everyone who has joined us at home to watch. We'll see you again for our next broadcast here. But for now, from Brands Hatch and the Team Brazil Scholarship, it is good night.
Hmm.